The year's 1960, and Abib Bikla has just won a gold medal in the Olympics for in the marathon while running barefoot. The shoe industry is at fault for creating a product that allows our bodies to run in a manner that is not normal and or healthy. I'm an avid runner who ran cross country and track throughout high school and has run barefoot along with researched it. Throughout this speech, I will touch on how and why barefoot running improves your form, what risks are involved and how to prevent them, and finally, how this change will save you time and money in the long run. So the correct place for you to strike the ground when you run is on your forefoot. Running barefoot forces you to do this because your heel does not have enough tissue to support the impact of each step that you take. And like I said before, the shoe industry is partially at fault for the way that humans have progressed in terms of the way we run. Companies such as Salomon, Asics, Saucony, and Brooks have all created shoes with an 8mm heel drop, for example. And heel drop is the difference in the height from the heel to the forefoot on a running shoe. The bigger the heel drop, the more cushion a shoe offers. A standard running shoe has an 8mm heel drop, but Hoka, for example, makes a shoe that has like a 12mm heel drop, which is meant for people that have a lot of knee issues, but they still want to continue running. The larger the heel drop, the more cushion, like I said. Minimalist shoes have a 0 or 2mm heel drop. And this basically just offers your foot protection from like glass or pebbles that could be on the ground when you're running. 75% of runners heel strike, according to Smithson.com. And then, like I said before, the lack of tissue in your heel makes it inadequate to run on. So when you run barefoot, you have to forefoot strike because that's the only place on your foot that can take all of the impact. And then running on your heels is also less efficient because it makes your turnover slower, in turn making your strides slower. University of Amherst in Massachusetts states that running on your forefoot burns less carbohydrates, which can in turn hurt you while you're running a marathon. Now that we've talked about how barefoot running improves your form and makes you a more efficient runner, we can now talk about how to safely transition to barefoot running. Running barefoot could cause more harm than good if it's not done properly, like most things. It doesn't happen overnight, and it takes time to build up strength in your tendons because your feet are used to wearing shoes all the time. So it's going to take time to build up that muscle. You've been wearing shoes all your life, like I said. So obviously you can't just go out and run 6 miles barefoot. It's not going to work. You're going to come back and you're going to be destroyed in absolute pain. And running is a very high impact sport. Your feet are constantly pounding on the ground as you're going along. So it's already detrimental to your body. So you have to make the transition very slowly. Otherwise it will cause damage to muscles and ligaments. Shoes have made our feet and ankles weaker, like I've mentioned, because of all the cushion that they offer. But barefoot running strengthens all of that again and allows us to run in our natural state. So if you start running and walking, you can start out walking and then start running. This will in turn make your muscles stronger, which will return them to their natural state prior to wearing shoes. And then one fun fact that I found was a lot of people enjoy running barefoot because they feel more connected to the environment because their feet are just on the ground and there's nothing in between their feet and the ground, such as a pair of shoes. Dr. Stewart, who has a PhD in biomechanics, recommends that you start out walking barefoot and then you work your way up to running so that you start out slow and make this process as gradual as possible. So you'll start walking, and then as you gain strength, you can start transitioning to running, but you can do this slowly. So you can run like 5 minutes, for example, one day, and then work on that. And then slowly, like the next week, you might be able to run 10 minutes barefoot. It's a process and it's just gradual. It's not just going to happen overnight, as I mentioned. One thing that you really have to pay attention to while you're in this transition is you have to listen to your body. If you're hurting, if your feet hurt, take a day off, roll your muscles out, and listen to your body. That's key in this transition. Another way to transition is using minimalist shoes. Like I said, they provide protection and they allow you to run naturally. Some brands that make neutral or minimalist running shoes are Ultra, New Balance, and Vibram. They have like the 5-toed shoes, if you've ever seen those. And basically these offer a way to dabble in the world of barefoot running without diving in head first. So now that we've talked about how barefoot running improves your form, and then how to safely transition to it, we can finally talk about how this will save you time and money in the end. So a normal pair of shoes costs roughly $150, say you run, and then they last for about 400 to 500 miles, depending on the price range and quality of your shoe. So a pair of Salomon Sense Rides will cost you $120 according to Salomon.com, and that's a small fortune for a pair of shoes. But you will no longer have to pay the small fortune if you make the transition to barefoot running. You'll no longer have to waste time driving to the store, trying to pick out a new pair of shoes. You don't need that anymore because you don't need shoes. And you can save $300 plus each year if you run, say, 1,000 miles plus every year. And this is a small thing, but you won't have to lace up your shoes anymore. And that seems like a small amount of time, but if you run almost every day, the time adds up. This is in turn changing the way you run and making you more efficient, which causes less stress to your body. And then keep in mind your health and other factors before you start making the switch to barefoot running. The choice to run barefoot is yours. Will you take it? Like I've said before, I've touched on why barefoot running makes you faster, more efficient, what risks are involved and how to prevent them by transitioning slowly into this. You can't just do it overnight. Barefoot running saves you time and money in the long run because you no longer have to go to the store and buy shoes or test out new shoes or lace up your shoes anymore. This is a key factor in becoming a better and more efficient runner. Even if you do barefoot strides a few times a week after you run, do your normal run in your shoes. This can help because you can feel the way that you run while you're barefoot, and then you can apply that to how you run all of the time. And that's the thing I did throughout high school, is I would run barefoot after like workouts and stuff to learn how to run properly and to notice those little differences. Like I said, this teaches you the correct way to run, so you can just forget your shoes and hit the pavement and run. Thanks.